do this.
Legendary skateboarder Tony Hawk is here. Thank you.
Tony motherfucking Hawk. All right.
I have a foundation for public skate parks. I mean, it's definitely my proudest work. We give them the roadmap and funding to do it.
Tony Hawk's Vert Alert.
It is its own discipline, and we need to celebrate that.
I'm talking about you two, of course.
Please welcome Carolyn Bathauer and Tony Hawk.
Hello, everybody. Hey, we're in Chicago. Can we give a Chicago welcome? Tony Hawk.
Thank you.
Well, that film is incredible. It says it all. You have built something so much bigger than just a skate career. There's purpose, persistence, and a whole lot of creative risk there. I'm excited to dive into it with all of our wonderful audience today and to you. But my first question is, has anybody ever told you you look like Tony Hawk?
Yes, but you're the third today.
I love it. When the internet's, it's fabulous. So,
I gotta say, it's gotten to the point where I don't know if people are joking or not. And sometimes I'm like, oh wait, you're serious. How do I approach this?
Yeah, it's great. So you turned pro at 14. Were considered the greatest in the world at 16. At that point, were you thinking about building a brand, or was it just about the skating? And could you have imagined at 16 sitting here with me in this crowd talking about marketing and branding?
When I turned 16, I was hoping to save enough money from contest winnings to buy a car.
Yeah.
And I bought a 1977 Civic for $1,500.
Yeah, that's great.
So those were the big aspirations.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say I turned pro at 14, yes, that is true. But how that worked was skating was very small, kind of in a lull of popularity. And I was at a competition where some of my peers were turning pro, and they knew me as the #1 amateur, and it was like, dude, if you don't turn pro, like, you're just phoning it in. So I'm filling out this entry form to the competition, name, address, sponsors. I had one sponsor. And then there's a box that said pro and a box that said am. And then I ticked the pro box. That's how I turned pro.
I love that. And then like skate culture was always so supportive, right? Competitive, but supportive. And then, you do what you got to do and you check the box, so.
Yeah, it was a really small community, and it didn't feel like I was making some life plan. I was 14. Skating wasn't cool.
Yeah.
You know, my teachers, I would actually hide my skateboard in school. I was a pro skater, and I would hide my skateboard before I got to school in the bushes so that no one would hassle me because I carried it through the campus. But and also the competition, like that one in particular, first prize was $100. Second was $75, third was $50. I got fourth.
Yeah. So things have changed. But, as I look back, in my opinion, the original influencer marketing was all about, excellence tied to a product. So when you wore something or you built something, everybody wanted it. So how did you evaluate what you put your name on and what you would partner with?
It was more intuitive, and it was more genuine. Is this something that I really participate in, or that I use, or that I wear? It got a little tricky in the sort of mid-90s because skating started to get noticed again through, I would say, thanks to the X Games, early X Games. And then suddenly we were being asked to do marketing, endorsements, commercials, and whatever for products that were fine. It was just more like their direction was super cheesy because they thought skateboarding was extreme and you do that and you sky surf and you bungee jump. And it's like, no, dude, I ride skateboards. And so that got a little tricky to navigate because I was struggling. My career had taken a big dive in the 80s. And so I needed the money to survive. Sure. And so I kind of had to play the game. And there are a few regretful commercials. Thank God YouTube didn't exist back then. But it was, I mean, it's not like we were damaging skateboarding legacy or anything. It was just more like, I don't think it's presented well. And the time that I got to really change that narrative was when I got to work on a video game. Yeah. Because when I signed a video game deal, it's not that I thought I had a lot of leverage, but I thought, okay, if they're putting my name on this, on the title, I want final approval over all the creative or whatever is going to be produced. And that was hard to fight for because I didn't have a track record in video games for sure, but I just got lucky that Activision was it was the Wild West and there hadn't been a skateboard game in almost 10 years and it was like, yeah, just let him go and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so thinking about, your instinct told you this isn't natural, this isn't right, this is cheesy. So then the next time you had the opportunity, it's about having that creative control so that you can prevent that from happening too. So, you mentioned the journey. So like the fringe to the X Games, to an Olympic sport. Like that journey to mainstream, what do you think it took to bring skateboarding from a niche community into a global culture force? And what can brands learn today as they're looking through that kind of transformation?
My best explanation is authenticity. The fact that skating never wavered. It was always this sort of underground niche sport, but everything that comes with it, the culture, the aesthetics, the music, the attitude. I mean, really, to be a skater, especially in the 80s and then going into the 90s, you had to be extremely motivated and determined because there was no career option. There was hardly any accolades. It was just more because you did it because you loved it. And I think that attitude really shined through when we finally got a chance to be seen again through X Games or otherwise. And I feel like people took note and it was like, hey, these guys, they really are passionate about this and they're risking their lives for what? Like, yeah. I still don't know. Yeah. So I'm still chasing that dragon. But I think that really shined through and people resonated with it. Okay. And then when kids started, a new generation started skating, they felt that same way and they felt like it became their identity. What you're talking about from underground sport, especially in the 70s or 80s to an Olympic sport, that was a long journey. And I can't say that we were all on board with it because people covet skateboarding as this thing that's very special to them. It's like an underground band. Yeah. And then the band gigs are big and it's like, they sold out. No, they're selling out stadiums, but they're playing the same music. And so I'm just thankful that there is this awareness for skateboarding because it allows us to be more prolific, have more international exposure. There's just a totally new attitude about skating. It's very inclusive. Yeah. Parents encourage it. I mean, we just went to the skate park down by the water this morning, yeah. And there's parents, there's kids, and it's like, it's one of the great melting pots. And I think that's representative of what skateboarding has become. Yeah. But also there is a heavy competition side. Yeah,
it's very different, right? I remember I was so drawn to skate culture because it was very different. And I could look around and see people who acted like me, who looked like me. And now when I look, you see these videos online of these teenage boys helping young girls really perfect the sport. And it's changed so much, but it always was rooted in that connection. And competition. So as we think about it, and you mentioned like, these things didn't just happen. you looked around collectively. Was there a moment or a realization that you all looked around and said, it's more than just the sport? We need to make this bigger, or did something happen where it just naturally progressed that way?
Yeah, I can't say there was some collective effort. No one was that organized. And
It worked out though,
yeah,
so yeah.
Or no one was that methodical either. It was more that, here's an opportunity. For instance, when ESPN decided to include skateboarding, like, let's represent skateboarding as best we can. And then when I got to do this video game, I was like, I want to keep it totally authentic, all the way down to the music, the actual skaters, the skate spots, the tricks. And that went really well. I think it's just at each step, when there's a big opportunity, people kept it real.
Yeah.
And so skateboarding was always represented authentically. And it's strange for me because when I come from an era where it just wasn't cool. And in the hierarchy of high school cool, like there was like jocks, nerds, and then skaters didn't even like fit on the same totem pole. But we persevered, and it became cool, I guess. Yeah. But we still feel like outsiders, and we still really embrace that.
Yeah, I think it's the edge, right? Yeah. And it gives you, that's what people attracted to for that. And so, you mentioned the game, right? I still play Pro Skater. That soundtrack is the soundtrack of my young years. But staying relevant is super important. So across different generations, so skate tapes, HBO docs, new games, TikToks, you're doing it all. But what's been the through line for you? And then out of curiosity, what's fun for you now?
Well, I think those are very separate, but the through line for me has been always progression and trying new things and posing new challenges for myself. So, when I was competing, and even when I was doing well in competition, I wasn't resting on my accolades. I felt like, honestly, my skating was more creative immediately after a competition, because I was lifted from that sort of pressure and that conservative style of skating where I got to do the stuff I know I can make. And so, even if I did well, I was back on the ramp the next day, probably learning a new trick because I was finally kind of released. Yeah. from those chains. And so that's been the through line ever since. I mean, I'm super old now, but I'm still trying new stuff. It's just not as high impact or as technical. I don't want to break my leg again. But and that is what motivates me. That's what drives me. And so I guess that's my only secret to relevance, is not quitting. Okay. But what was the other thing you said?
So thinking about what's fun for you now?
Oh, what's fun?
Yeah.
Everything like this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, you walked in, you said, I don't know how I got here. I was like, I don't know how I got here either.
I mean, I can tell, but a little bit. Yeah.
But also just, that kind of thing. Like, we're here, Chicago is amazing, and I'm definitely here for this, but my friend Kevin Staub and I, we grew up skating together since we were 12. We just went and hit the skate park for like an hour this morning. And there were a few people there, and it was a blast. And like the idea that there is a skate park anywhere near here, like when we grew up, there were maybe 3 in the entirety of the US. Yeah.
And it's amazing. And so I grew up in Chicago, and the emotional connection I have to hearing a deck hit concrete, or my bedroom window backed up to our elementary school. There was a 20-foot straight ramp with 6 stairs and a double rail down the middle.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as I heard that noise, I knew my friends were outside. So it was like before we had cell phones, I could just run out there.
It's a call to arms.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you just knew we were there, right? But at that time, you had, as soon as you heard the first sound, probably about an hour before the cops came, so you had to get in all your tricks before that happened. But, sitting here, it's wonderful because you've inspired millions of people, not just with your sport, but the story. And emotional connection, I think, has a big part in this culture. So when you think about shaping the narrative of Tony Hawk, and what role does kind of storytelling across the years have in making that emotional connection with the sport?
Wow. Well, I would never claim to shape the narrative of myself.
You are who you are. Yeah.
In fact, at some point, my name represented something other than me, myself anyway. You know, I mean, right when, I would say in the first couple of years when our video game got really popular, I remember walking through a hotel lobby and a woman stopping me because she heard the guy at the desk say my name when I checked in. She said, "Are you Tony Hawk?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "My son thinks that they named you after a video game." and it's kind of been like that ever since. So there, I guess the narrative is like it's me, but it's also a brand.
Sure.
And at some point, I kind of embraced that. I mean, there was definitely a time when that success allowed me to get to pursue other opportunities that were kind of outside the scope of skateboarding, but still fit somehow. I mean, for instance, my siblings and I started a kids' clothing line right around that same time because we all had kids, and the only kids' clothing you got was like dressing them up like little soldiers. I don't know. It was like Oshkosh Bagosh Nation, and it didn't represent what we like to wear: surf, skate culture, shorts, trunks, and that kind of stuff. So we just said, let's just make it on our own.
Yeah.
And we ran it out of my sister's garage for a while, and eventually Quicksilver bought it. But it's just that kind of example where, because of all these other things, especially the video game, that allowed us to branch out.
That's incredible. So you brought up getting older, so injuries are part of that, business pivots are part of that. I think there's nothing scarier than standing at the top of a half pipe and looking at a drop in. I stood there, I didn't do it, never would. But I think there's lessons learned as you look back. Is there a moment, redirection, or potentially failure that ended up teaching you about the resilience? You mentioned breaking your leg. I'm sure that was part of it.
That would be it. That's the one.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about that. What did you go through during that time and then after, and then how did you adjust?
Well, I would preface it with, it was about 3 years ago, and the way that I had been approaching skating up to that point, I was still pretty cavalier with it because I still had my almost all my skill set.
Yeah.
And yes, I was in my 50s, but I just kind of was in denial of that fact because when I got on a ramp, I could do all my tricks and blast big airs and do spins and things. Definitely there was some signs of slowing down, and I sort of retired a few tricks in those years. But at the same time, if you caught me on any given day, I was still kind of going for it. And I fucked around and found out. I went up for a trick I've done thousands of times, a McTwist. I didn't have enough speed for it, but that never stopped me before. And I used to be able to sort of adjust by compressing really tightly on my landing. And I guess I just couldn't compress as much as I thought I could. And next thing I know, I'm sliding down the ramp and my leg is pointing this way. And one of the most unfortunate parts of that was my son was home from college for that week, and he brought some friends to the ramp from college to watch me skate. And I looked up, and actually, first thing I did was I grabbed my leg because I didn't like it over there, so I put it back in place. Desperate times.
Yeah.
I put it back where it should be, kinda, and looked up at my son. I said, "I broke my leg," and they're like, "Yeah, that's plainly obvious." And I know, I sound cavalier. It hurt a lot. Yeah. And when they tried to move me onto the stretcher, I was in agony. But I got it fixed, or so I thought, and went back to skating way too soon because injuries never really stopped me from trying to get back out there. But when the biggest bone in your body is actually still in two pieces, it doesn't help with strength or flexibility. And I got back on my skateboard and actually moved the bones out of place.
So I was gonna ask, did you learn anything, clearly?
Yeah.
Nope.
I did not until a few months of that, and it wasn't progressing. I wasn't getting any better. It hurt all the time, and I was like, and I think I was just in denial that I had done that. I went and got x-rays and got the proof that yes, your bone is just offset and you're not really standing on a bone. And so I went and got a second surgery, got it realigned by a doctor in LA who specializes in non-union fractures, if anyone out there knows the biz. And he said, I want you to not do anything for 3 months. Which I didn't hear it the first time, but I was gonna hear it that time. And 3 months later, he took x-rays, the bone had finally made itself as one, and off I went, but with an attitude now that is much more thankful. Nothing's taken for granted.
Yeah.
Every ollie, every kickflip feels like a gift now.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of had to go through that to appreciate how much it means to me, and I'm just not gonna put myself at that kind of risk anymore.
No.
For what? For a McTwist? For the college kids? No.
That's fantastic. Okay, so great lessons learned. I think,
That was a hard one. I would have preferred not to learn that one, but.
Right. So I think forced slowdowns sometimes are
Yeah.
a gift as well. So we've all experienced those. But you mentioned skating, right, this morning. And one of the things that we are very big on is philanthropy. And I know you are as well. You've built hundreds of skate parks in underserved communities. Tell us a little bit about giving back and that being ingrained in skate culture, and how has that shaped your approach to community and purpose? And tell us about that.
Well, I think it started with how important the skate park was to my well-being as a kid. I mean, not just a place to train and practice, but more like my sense of community and a place of belonging. And like I said earlier, it was one of the last remaining skate parks in the US. I mean, there were maybe 3 at the time, and I just happened to be lucky that I lived in San Diego. Del Mar Skate Ranch was one of the few that was still there, and I really found my sense of belonging there. So when I saw skateboarding starting to come back around in popularity in the early 2000s, I thought the best I could do with my success and my voice now, because I'm reaching a different audience, is to try to provide more skate parks. Like that was the seed. I didn't have any other plan, and started, actually the seed money for the foundation came from my appearance on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Celebrity Sports Edition.
Amazing.
It pays to have a brother who is a literature major as a phone a friend.
Yeah.
And so it was $125,000. That was, and that all went to start the foundation. And I just felt like there's so many kids that feel disenfranchised. They found skateboarding, they love it. It really gives them a sense of identity and belonging, but there's no place for them to do it.
Yeah.
And if they choose to do it, they get kicked out.
Yeah.
Of almost every single place. And so we started helping communities advocate for parks in their cities. I mean, it was a tough sell back then, because skateboarding still had that bad stigma. Slackers, stoners, troublemakers. Like, yeah, they're troublemakers because you don't let them skate anywhere.
Right.
And so we kind of got through that noise, and we're 23 years in. We've helped to fund over 600 skate parks and across the U.S. And I feel like that's my. Thank you. I feel like that was the best thing I could have done with my success, and I still do. And also selfishly, I get more places to skate.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You've done a lot. That, I think, is your absolute true legacy. I think it'll live on for a very, very long time. And there's a lot of kids out there that are benefiting from it. So that's wonderful.
I mean, if you go to a skate park, almost any park right now, you'll see people from all walks of life, all races, all genders, all ages, all skill levels, and they're all enjoying the exact same space. And I feel like you can't say that about any other activity or sport. And it's amazing, and everyone rallies around each other. And even our little crew today, we were all cheering each other on.
I can only imagine the reaction. But that is a true sense of community. Okay, so final question. We have a couple minutes left, but leaving the audience with a mindset or a principle that's helped you stay grounded and focused, even as everything around us changes, what are some pieces of advice that you would give in your lessons learned?
Well, I think find your center and find your passion. Even if that's not the way to make a living, keep doing it because it will give you that sense of peace and mental health. I mean, just going out and skating for 10, 15 minutes for me, even if it's not doing anything, maybe grinding a curb or something, that's enough to get me through the day, where I feel a better sense of peace and a better way of being able to navigate whatever is going to come at me. And I just feel like don't lose yourself into the work because you can burn out so quickly. And I've definitely felt that. I mean, I went through a whole burnout phase in my 30s, and it was really hard to get back to skating.
How did you find your way back?
I kind of let go of the idea that it's always got to be perfect and that I got to keep this level of success up in terms of whatever rankings and when I was finally released from that, it was liberating because it was like I don't really care. Like I'm gonna bail. Oh well.
It brought
get up
the
and try
joy
again.
back.
Yeah.
It brought the joy back.
Yeah, and just I mean, if skating teaches you anything, it's you're gonna fall. And you got to get back up.
Yeah.
That's it. Keep trying.
Yeah. Great. Well, Tony, thank you from our audience, from being here in Chicago, for all of the work that you do, for the legacy that you've created and built. We really appreciate you being here. Everybody, Tony Hawk.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.